Hello, this is Rebecca, and today I'm going to be talking about one of the borderline personality criteria in the DSM-5, and this time I'm going to be talking about dissociation. This one is pretty hard for me to talk about. I mean, they're all going to be hard for me to talk about, but this one is going to be pretty difficult because it is a massive part of my symptoms of borderline. I dissociate very frequently, especially when I'm stressed, and the things I'm going to be talking about are stressful, so if I do dissociate while making this video, I'm sorry, but also it's a perfect example. So if I do, it's a learning experience. I am gonna say right now, again, because every freaking video I will say this, I'm not a professional. If you think you have issues, please go see a professional, because my videos and my experiences are not professional. Okay? Okay. I have a small list of triggers here. I apologize. These glasses do not fit my friggin' face, and I'm gonna get them adjusted so I don't keep doing this every video. Okay. Sorry. I have a few triggers written down here. So okay. I'm shit at editing, just an FYI, so pretty much everything that happens is gonna be in the video. I hope to learn how to be better at editing and stuff like that. But I'm not, so you're getting a very incompetent Rebecca at the moment. So I apologize for my frequent lifting of the glasses, because they're very annoying. Okay, finally, triggers. Trigger warning for the following: stress. Something pretty much everyone feels these days. An escape from reality, or wanting to escape from reality. Abuse in general. All kinds of abuse. Suicidal thoughts, ideation, attempts, things like that as well. Self-injury. And this is kind of a disclaimer and a trigger warning. In the last video I filmed, it was a COVID video, and I spoke about having an inner world. And for me, I can't really talk about dissociation without talking about my inner world. And in that video, I had said I wasn't going to talk about my inner world, but I will. So, trigger warning for anyone who may have dissociation and have like a secondary location in their head that they go when they're stressed out. And disclaimer that you'll probably hear things in this video that might make me look really crazy. I promise you, they're coping mechanisms. I will not go very in detail. I'm already nervous. I will not go in very deep detail, mainly because in the last video I made, I said my inner world is basically my last line of defense. It's where I go when I feel like reality is too much. And I'm not willing to compromise that. I'm not willing to give anyone power to use names or traits or anything along those lines in regards to my inner world, because that is mine, and I will not compromise on that. And I hope I don't sound like a bitch. I really don't mean to. It's just that it's taken me a lot of time and effort to come to terms with carrying all of this around in my head and using it to my advantage, if there is such a thing. And I don't want that progress destroyed. I don't want anything like that to happen. So please understand, I'm really, when I say things in these videos, I'm trying very hard to not be a bitch. I don't want to be a bitch. I tend to be very firm when it comes to talking about my mental illnesses, because they're stressful for me to talk about, and I'm opening myself up to a lot of judgment, and I'm being very vulnerable, and that's what I want. I want to be vulnerable and trustworthy and have people see the realness of mental illness, but please do it with respect. So, yeah. Alright. I have a little list here. I've started doing that because I much prefer to be organized. Sorry, big fat brain fart right there. That happens too sometimes. Okay, so I have a few points on here that I'm going to go into, and if I get sidetracked, if you guys know me by watching my other videos, you know I get sidetracked, I get very distracted, I do all sorts of weird things, so don't mind me. But yeah, so I'm going to get to this list now. Okay, abuse in my childhood. Great first topic, right? So, I've been through pretty much every form of abuse you can think of. At least in sexual, physical, emotional, and mental. And verbal. Now, I'm not saying that I had a shitty life, because I have not had a shitty life. I've had a lovely life where people really do love me and care for me. I have a family who loves me and cares for me. I technically have two families who love and care for me. Because I live with a family, where I am currently, and I consider them, you know, kind of extended family. So I'm very, very blessed. I have a lot in my life to be thankful for, but I've been through a lot. I'm not gonna say who my abusers were. Not just, I don't even want to say to protect them, because the shit they did to me was not right. More for myself, because I don't want to give that information out there and have someone mention it and me end up getting upset. So, I'm not going to say who, but I will tell you that I was molested as a very young kid. Very, very young, like, to the point where I didn't remember much until I was like 22. And that, I had a massive breakdown. It was like a wall in my mind, just like a dam collapsed, and all of a sudden, memories. And they didn't even come to me like a memory. It was more like images and feelings. And to be honest with that, I think I was so young, I don't really... It was obviously very traumatic, and now as an adult, I know what happened was wrong. But to be perfectly honest, I don't remember who did it. And I'm kind of thankful, but also not. Because I constantly have this question in my head of why and who. But at the same time, I do remember bits and pieces, not the entirety, which I'm thankful for. Because if I remembered everything, I think it would have damaged me a lot more than it did. So, borderline personality disorder. From pretty much every professional I've seen, and from others that I know who have borderline, they usually, not always, but usually have a history of childhood sexual abuse. Borderline is primarily a trauma-based illness. You can definitely, like, if you have a high reactivity to emotions and things like that, that kind of thing can be, you have like a proclivity towards it, can be passed down genetically, but trauma is thought to be the main cause of borderline. And because of what happened to me when I was very little, I can't even imagine what little me went through. Like, I can't even imagine. Because when you're a kid, especially if it is someone you know, there must be a lot of confusion. Like, I don't even know who, and I don't know how long it went on for, or how old I was. I just know someone did it, and I didn't know this till my adult life, because through therapy I started getting better. And I will tell you that the human mind is an amazing thing. It really, really is. And through all of the things I've been through and my struggles, I know that. And I'm so thankful that I have my mind. Because I feel like my mind hid those memories, those images, those things behind a wall until I was ready to deal with them. So I may remember more in the future, but right now, what I know is what I can handle. So, that severely impacted me. To be honest, I don't remember a lot of my childhood, up until like 6th, 7th grade. I feel like a lot of it was spent dissociating, like just not remembering anything, that autopilot. And to me, to an extent, that is what dissociation is. Sometimes it can be autopilot, where all of a sudden you get in your car, and then all of a sudden you're somewhere and you're like, wait, how did I get here? Did I drive here? Or you go somewhere while you get in your car aiming to go somewhere and you end up somewhere different. And that can be dissociation, where you're going through the motions, but your mind is not all in reality. That happens to me all the time, and for a long time I thought it was just daydreaming. And that was my primary form of dissociation for a really long time, all through my childhood, and in my teens. But I did also have dissociation where the body just kind of stops and you're stuck in your mind. And usually for me, at least now, it's kind of peaceful, if I'm honest. And like I said, I'm not a professional. This is my experience. And other people who have dissociation in them, like in their life, will probably be different. But for me, when I am sitting somewhere or doing something and I start to dissociate, and it's like a full-on dissociation, like body not there, mind not there, won't respond to anyone, it's peaceful for the most part. It did not used to be. It used to be going back and reliving horrible memories. Sometimes still is. Sometimes flashbacks. But now it's kind of like the brain kind of just slows down. And sometimes I can hear and comprehend, like, who's talking to me or other people talking around me, but, like, I don't respond, or I don't hear them, or I don't feel them touching me, trying to get me to come back. Like, sometimes, for a while, I thought I might have absence seizures, but these are just the different kinds of dissociation I go through. So, the childhood sexual abuse, I feel like started that for me. I feel like anyone, I mean, I don't want to generalize, because that's something you learn not to do in DBT therapy. But I feel like most people at least once in their life dissociate without even realizing that's what it is. Spacing out, usually dissociation. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be like a particular cause. Sometimes it's just autopilot. But for me, when it first started, I can kind of remember when I really realized, like, maybe this is not normal. I was really young. I was like, I want to say 5, 6 age range. And I started having it in kindergarten, like, where I remember having it. And I moved partway through kindergarten from one state to another, and I remember doing it where I first started kindergarten. And then I remember doing it where I moved to. But I think it got worse after I moved. 'Cause I moved like 3 times in like a 8-9 month period. And one of those moves was huge. It was from England to America. So I left basically all my family behind except my immediate family. I didn't really have time to make like solid friends in Virginia, which is where I lived for like 8 months, and then I moved to Texas, and I made friends, you know, but I feel like I always had a really shy demeanor, and I'm sorry if I get speechless during this video. Sometimes thinking about this stuff kind of does that to me. So, when I moved to Texas, I felt like I didn't fit in. And I made friends. But I feel like that's where I first remember being bullied. And I was already dissociating before being bullied, but the bullying made it worse. So I started to spend like all day, pretty much every day, in my head. Usually autopilot kind, where like I'll automatically respond to things like something my mom or dad said, hey, back, do this, blah, 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 you know, like a chore. And then they'd say, did you do this? And I'd be like, no, like, wouldn't remember. And it wasn't just at home. It was, I couldn't remember things because I was spending so much time in my head. And that's when I started to create this inner world in my head. And it's very hard for me to talk about because it's very personal to me. I think not even 10 people know about my inner world and the details. And that includes the 4 therapists I've had in the past 5, maybe 6 years, when I first started opening up about it. And my inner world is not a nice place. There's a lot of horrible things that happen there. And I feel like that's probably a result of me needing somewhere to put all of these negative feelings that I had, even though I didn't know what they were from at the time, needing to put them somewhere. And when I was like 6 or 7, I had imaginary friends. They were not imaginary. They were parts of me that came to be because of the trauma that I experienced, because of the pain I was in. And they have constantly developed through my life. When I was a teenager, tween, I started to have suicidal thoughts, and they're the parts of me from that age that didn't want to die. I, for a long time, did want to die. They helped me stay alive. And my family, the thought of leaving them behind, kept me here. But and I don't want to shame my family. I don't want to say they were horrible, because they were not. I love my family. They've done everything they could for me. But for a few different reasons, I felt I couldn't go to them about things. So I never told anyone that this was happening. I never told anyone that I was suicidal. I never told anyone that all of this was going on in my head. My grades started to slip towards, I think it was like 6th grade. It might have been earlier, but I think 6th grade into 7th grade, my grades really started to suffer because I was dissociating all the time, and I couldn't remember things, and it caused a lot of problems. I started to feel worse about myself because my grades sucked, and that made things worse, because then it was, oh, I hate myself, I'm horrible, I'm dumb, I can't do school, I might as well drop out. And those self-hating thoughts made me worse, and anything bad that happened in my life made it worse. I dissociated all the time. There's so much about my life I don't remember because I was just going through the motions. And I feel like maybe my parents may have noticed a little bit. I remember a few times where I'd be sitting somewhere, or we'd be at a restaurant as a family, and it would be my turn to order, or someone would try to get my attention, and I wouldn't respond. And I remember my mom a few times being like, Becky. But that's like the other kind where I just completely go. I'm sorry, it's starting. I kind of had a feeling it would start making a video like this, is talking about things that really not easy for me to talk about. So I need to look at this sheet. Okay. Okay. So, as I grew older, this inner world, these imaginary friends grew with me. And they still grow. To this day, I am ever changing. And I will never stop changing until I die. Like, I'm gonna learn more and go through more in my time on Earth. And my inner workings are gonna change too. And that scares me sometimes. But there's so much that has helped me through my hard times. And I'm thankful for those things. Now, I'm not going to talk about physical abuse or the emotional abuse, verbal abuse, mental abuse. I'm not going to talk about those things. Because that was an ongoing thing in my life. And that's primarily why I was always in my head and always was writing or focusing on inner stuff. But when I was 18, I got taken advantage of sexually again. And then another guy attempted to a month later. And that was my senior year. And I was failing, like, pretty much every class. And up until 2020, that was the worst year of my life. I hated it. It was horrible. I thought I was going to have to drop out of high school. And that's something I didn't tell my family. But I seriously considered dropping out because I thought I was too stupid, that I couldn't go to school because I was an idiot. But the rape made everything worse. It downhill spiral. Everything was awful. I was so sick. And my family was going to be moving after I graduated high school. So I knew that there was somewhere I could run away to at the end of my senior year, which is mostly what kept me going. But this inner world and this dissociation and these imaginary friends, they kept me alive up until that point. But because of what happened to me my senior year, that was so traumatic that I, like, forgot about them. I forgot about my inner world, which baffles me to this day, because that's my main coping mechanism that has been instilled in me from childhood. But it was pure survival mode up until, like, from that first rape, then to the attempted, to moving here, where I felt like I was safe enough to be myself and seek therapy, and I felt like I belonged and that people actively tried to understand me, they came back slowly. And I know it sounds crazy. I know it does. And like I said, I'm not giving details about anything in my inner world or about these imaginary friends, because they're like, I don't want to say sacred, but like, I would not be alive if they weren't there. Even though it's a horrible, dark place full of pain. It's somewhere stable I can go when things get really hard. And I still struggle every day with dissociating and going to this inner world, and I have horrendous dreams about this inner world, and sometimes I wish I didn't have it, but then I'm like, okay, well, it's saved your life so many times, how can you say that? So, I mean, dissociation is a hard thing, and like I've said, this is just my experience with it. Sorry. I don't want to cry. I don't want to be emotional. Sometimes when I'm fighting to not be that way, the dissociation takes over. Sometimes makes my mind a little fuzzy, makes it harder for me to speak, makes me speak slower. Hi, sorry about that. Yeah, okay, that's where I was. Wow, this video is going nothing like I planned. I apologize for that. But I've said in a previous video, sometimes spontaneity is the best way for me to do things, so I have this little guideline, but it's not necessarily, I'm not necessarily following it because things are coming up in my head and I'm talking as they come up. But I do have a few really important points here that I want to mention. So, dissociation is scary. Not necessarily for me, but for people around me who love me. Sometimes for me, because I will end up somewhere and not realize how I got there. Sometimes I'll be with a friend and dissociate and... Sorry. Yeah, sometimes I'll be with a friend, dissociate, and then I come back and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "How long was I gone?" Like, that's usually the first thing when I come back is, where was I? How long was I gone? How long did my friend have to sit here and look at me like this? And I've kind of gotten to a point now where I can sometimes tell when it's gonna happen. Or I have a sleep disorder too, so this is just a big fat mess. I apologize for the yawning. I'm sorry. Yeah. Man, this video was a shit show, and I'm so sorry. Yeah, I've gotten to a point where I can kind of sort of sometimes tell when it's gonna happen. When it does, when I do feel that way, I'll kind of hold it off as long as I can and like try to say it's happening or sorry. And then I have learned not to push away the dissociation, because sometimes, and this is gonna sound crazy, sometimes it's beneficial. When I'm very stressed out, especially, I feel everything so intensely. That's huge part of borderline. Sometimes I just cannot handle things, and when that's the case, dissociation is a good thing for me, because it gives me time to just be there. Just my body, me, kind of not really doing anything. Just kind of either spacing out or in my inner world, thinking about how to deal with things. And it's kept me out of breakdowns before. It also has made it a lot easier to understand, because there's a skill in DBT, and I'm trying to remember what it's called, but where you basically just erase everything from your mind and sit there and just observe without putting words to things in your head, without judgment, without anything, just observing what's around you. And I do that a lot in my inner world, just to feel safe, away from reality when it gets too hard. So when I'm asked to do that, like when I was in DBT group, it came very easy for me. And I wasn't dissociating, because I do that in my inner world when I do dissociate sometimes. So it's kind of easy for me to just sit there and not put words to things, not make instant associations when I see something. Like that dream catcher there. Where is it? There it is! Like, I'll see that, and when I'm doing that, I don't think dream catcher, feathers, beads. Like, I don't think those things. It just kind of... Because I do that sometimes. Like, when I dissociate, I stare at things. And nothing comes in. No processing. No, oh, that's a dream catcher. Oh, it's so pretty. Oh, it's got all these feathers and these beads and string. Like, I just stare at it. And that also helps with meditation sometimes. So, like, I try very hard to use this in a positive way when I can. Sometimes I do just sit there when no one is around. I'm so sorry. And I just chill. without needing to be in reality, or just sitting there kind of on the verge of reality and inside myself. And to someone who does not have dissociation, this sounds crazy. And I mean, I'm not gonna say how you feel, but I feel like people will think this is crazy. And for people who do dissociate, their experience might be very different than mine. But this is my experience with it. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it really is, because sometimes I fight really hard not to dissociate because it's an important thing I'm doing, or I want to spend time with the people I love and experience life. But my brain has other plans, and sometimes it feels like I'm being pulled in multiple directions, and it's scary. But sometimes when I let it happen, or, you know, I have friends, and one of my friends, both her parents know that both her parents know that I do this, that this is something that happens to me, that I dissociate. And I shit you not, I'll be sitting at their kitchen table, it'll happen, and it's kind of just matter of fact at her house now. Which is sad, but also not, because it's nice to know I have people who genuinely care about me and don't mind me doing it. And obviously, if it's like a bad situation, a bad place for me to be doing it, my friends do try to get me out of it. Or they try to come, you know, pat me back. They're like, Becca, hey, like, but sometimes they just let me do it, because sometimes I'm sorry, oh my god, sometimes it is a break from things in life that are hard, and I did it a lot last year in 2020. But yeah, no, I worked with my therapist about my therapist knows, not in deep detail about this stuff, but we decided to call my imaginary friends internal friends, which I love so much more, and they help me through a lot. They really do. And it's kind of like having multiple consciences. It's weird. Like, and for a while, like, I thought I might have dissociative identity disorder, which is, it used to be called multiple personality disorder, but that's an antiquated term. Because dissociation is a massive part of DID. But I've come to the conclusion that I do not, with therapists, and just with working on myself and going inward and figuring out who I am as a person. I don't become them. They are there to help me. And for a long time it bothered me. I tried to push them away. I tried to push everything away because I didn't want that. I wanted to be myself, but I didn't know who I was because borderline sucks ass. But now I really, really try to embrace everything. And it's gotten easier once I did that. Because now, like, I had a therapist who legit was like, teach your internal, like, this was before the therapist I see now. She was like, teach your imaginary friends how to use skills. They can help you through things. And I was like, wow. Like, I was kind of like, Ooh, honey. Wow, you're smart. No wonder I'm paying you. But I did. They know skills now and help me when I'm having a hard time. And I never thought that someone's mind could do that. But mine did. I don't know, that's my response to that. Like, I get speechless when I think about it, because it's not normal, if there is such a thing. It's extremely personal, and this video is going to be very hard to post, because people are going to think I'm crazy. And maybe they're right. But I wouldn't change who I am. I like being who I am now. And all of these things have contributed to that. So, and I want to learn more about dissociation, because yes, it's a massive part of my experience with borderline, but people experience things in such different ways, and I want to learn how other people experience these things, because it is fascinating to me. And it's happening again. I don't remember what I was gonna say. That's annoying. A day in the life of Rebecca. Must be a joy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I was gonna say, so I'm just gonna say this was my all over the fucking place video about one of the diagnostic criteria for borderline personality disorder. And if I had to leave you guys with like one message, it would be, please try to keep an open mind, because everyone goes through different things, and I know people are gonna see this, probably people I know, and they're going to think I'm batshit crazy, but I'm still the same Rebecca that they know. They just didn't know a humongous part of me, or may have just thought, she's spacing out. It's a lot more than that. It's a lot more in detail. It's a lot more complex than just that. And I'm a lot more complex than just what you see. And so is everyone else. And if you think I'm crazy, I really just don't care. Like I said, this will be a very nerve-wracking video for me to put up. Not just because, I mean, I really don't care what other people think about me. I really don't. I spent most of my life thinking I needed to please other people. But when I stopped doing that, I became so much happier. And became the savage bitch that I am. So, but yeah, no, I forgot what I was gonna say again. So annoying. Oh my god, guys. Oh my god. Oh boy. I was getting real deep in everything. I don't even remember what I was gonna say. I don't know. Yeah. This is hard to post because you're seeing all sorts of mess. This is the kind of thing I go through on a daily basis, and sometimes it gets so much worse, and the day is wasted because I'm like this all day. But I want to show borderline. I want to show my experience with borderline because maybe it'll help some people understand what borderline is, the different things that come with it. And maybe it'll help people who have borderline or other mental illnesses or situations similar to mine feel less alone. And I'm going to show the ugly parts of me. I'm going to show the completely crazy things like this video where you hear crazy things about me, but I'm all over the place and I'm not here mentally all the time because that's my life. That's how I live. And I'm still able to be happy and successful and get good grades and have dreams and aspirations. I'm not just my mental illness. It's just a huge part of my life. And I hope that people watch this and know that. Because I'm not going to change who I am. Yes, I try very hard in therapy to change the things I don't like about myself. But I like who I am for the most part today. And that includes my crazy days where I'm here, not here, here, not here, here, not here. And today's one of those days. So, yeah, I don't know. This video is almost an hour long. Oh my god. So yeah, I'm gonna stop this video because it's long. No one's gonna watch this video because it's so freaking long. Okay. If you watched this whole video, I really appreciate it. And thank you for being here because these things are hard for me to talk about, and it's nice for people to watch it because then I'm not doing it for nothing. And of course, I'm doing it to help myself too, but it's primarily to educate other people. So other people watching it helps me feel good that I'm not just putting myself out there for no reason. But yeah, yeah, it's happening again. So thank you thank you guys so much for being so patient. This video really hard to make, and I'm sure really hard to watch. And I really appreciate it. I really do. But this is happening again, and I'm probably not making much sense, so I'm gonna stop the video because I think I just need to go to bed, and hopefully in the morning I won't be like this. So, thank you guys for listening and for being here. I really do appreciate it, and I'm sorry if some of my videos are just crazy and all over the place, because that's what life is like for me, and you'll get to see that, and I hope that that doesn't bother you. I very much appreciate you and love you guys, so thank you for watching this shit show. I'll see you guys later, hopefully when I'm not like this. Bye.